Number 10, It Follows. I'm not much of a horror movie fan. In general, I just kind of feel like the idea of trying to keep an audience in suspense and actually scare them for 90 minutes or more is too much to ask of a film, and a lot of them don't even come close to succeeding. But also, I don't like to be scared. The adrenaline high doesn't outweigh the basic negative reaction I have to fear, but I can't appreciate horror when it's about more than just scares. When the effects of the terror are shown as they relate to the characters, I can identify with their struggle and see the merits of the story as a whole, and using the instrument of the character's despair as a metaphor for something more tangible to the real world. These are both things that It Follows does really well. The protagonist, Jay, has her whole life consumed by the evil that plagues her, and not just for a few hours as in most horror. And the slow but constant pursuit from which she must always run can be related to almost any persistent dread the viewers experience. But this film's greatest success is in its ability to let emotion rise and fall without ever losing its tense atmosphere. Jay and her friends are occasionally granted a brief respite, but there's always the possibility that the evil will catch up to them again. They can never become complacent. Brilliantly directed and filmed, David Robert Mitchell proves that a big budget isn't necessary to create something that resonates with audiences. Star Maika Monroe earns her place among the great scream queens of cinema with a fully committed performance that humanizes the fear and doesn't falter into the category of lazy acting that's so common in horror. I recommend you watch this and then spend the next several weeks looking over your shoulder. Number 9, Bridge of Spies. We've come to expect excellence from Steven Spielberg. In the 40 years since his first blockbuster Jaws, he's consistently delivered films that outperform expectations at the box office and win the hearts of awards voters. Known for crafting some of the most elaborate and impressive action sequences in cinematic history, it would seem as though turning his attention to political dramas is a waste of talent. But Spielberg has used the skills he honed on Jurassic Park and Saving Private Ryan to make any congressional debate or courtroom argument every bit as exciting as a chase involving dinosaurs or the storming of the beaches at Normandy. Following the success of 2012's Lincoln, for which he should have won the Best Director Oscar, Spielberg turned his attention to the Cold War and gave us this taut and unsettling tale of espionage and negotiations between the US and Soviet Russia. With a script from the Coen brothers, the dramatization of the trial of Rudolph Abel, and the prisoner exchange negotiations handled by the lawyer who defended him, James B. Donovan, provides ample material for an engaging thriller staged in small spaces, more often than not featuring only two characters. Tom Hanks is well cast and understated as the intelligent and affable Donovan, while Tony Award-winning stage actor Mark Rylance gives subtlety and nuance to Abel. But the director does indulge his affinity for action in a brief scene involving a spy plane crashing that's reminiscent of Spielberg's classic work and is one of my favorite scenes of the year. If you think dramas are boring, give this a watch and get back to me. Number 8, Creed. Rocky 7. Just say that out loud. A 7th Rocky film. I know The Grudge Match was basically just that, but an actual honest-to-goodness Rocky film. It just sounds like it should be the biggest joke to hit cinemas this year, but somehow it's a great movie. A truly great movie, and there are a lot of reasons why. First of all, this isn't technically a Rocky film. Instead, as the title suggests, this movie really does belong to the character of Adonis Creed. This is his story, and Rocky has his part to play in it, but he's not in the spotlight. Secondly, this movie benefits from the incredible vision of director Ryan Coogler. This is ambitious filmmaking, and the Fruitvale Station Helmer is more than up to the task. By far his most daring decision as director here is shooting an entire boxing match in a single take. The logistics and precise timing of this sequence alone required more work than most directors are willing to put in on an entire film. The performance by Michael B. Jordan as the title character adds greatly to this film's accolades, and the love interest to his character, played by Tessa Thompson, would feel unnecessary in similar films, but her character is so well developed and the chemistry between the actors is so good that she's a vital part of the story. And the cherry on top of it all is Sylvester Stallone. He could have declined involvement with this film or just made a cameo to lend it a little credibility, but instead he fully involved himself in the role again and gave a great performance, taking the character to places we never expected to see the Italian stallion go. Rocky fans should rejoice, and everyone else should see this movie. Number 7, Mad Max Fury Road. A director rebooting his own franchise after a 30-year absence, during which he only directed kids' movies, doesn't sound like a recipe for success. But then again, what do I know? After years of promises to see another Mad Max movie had yielded nothing, doubt began to creep into the minds of movie lovers. But all of that anticipation paid off this year when George Miller gave the world the gift of Fury Road. Somehow bypassing the mutilation of most studio films, Miller got away with making a practical effects heavy action film with barely any story behind good guys run from bad guys, starring two of the most in-demand actors in Hollywood. While these miracles qualify Miller for canonization, in the here and now, they created one of the most viscerally exciting films ever, featuring a protagonist who's content to play sounding board for other characters, and an impressive cast of female talent led by the unflinching Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron. Though almost no explanation is ever offered for the particulars of this world, the attention to detail tells the whole story for those who are willing to pay attention. And plus, flamethrower guitars. Gloriously over the top on action, boasting a great deal more brains than most would guess at first glance, this may not be my favorite movie of the year, but it's certainly the cultural event not to be missed in 2015. Number 6, Inside Out. I've already talked about Pixar's influence and legacy, so I'll stick to the brilliance of this film this time around. Now, personifying the human thought process has been done by everybody from Woody Allen to SpongeBob, but Inside Out takes that idea to the most abstract extremes imaginable, and even a few that seem unimaginable. Now, a big criticism of this film has been that it's too sophisticated for little kids, but I think that those kids will benefit from it the most. There are enough bright colors and funny moments to keep them entertained, and there are some simple concepts that they'll be able to grasp. And as they get older, watching it again will give them something new to learn each time. In that way, it's probably more valuable than any other animated film so far. It grapples with some tough ideas that many adults have difficulty articulating and never takes the easy way out of an emotional situation. Getting into the ugly side of growing up, this movie puts things that many kids have felt but never had explained to them front and center, allowing them a way to feel like they are understood that doesn't come from an adult who they can have a hard time relating to. It's really a groundbreaking film, and as entertainment, it's top-notch. The animation is, of course, gorgeous, the jokes range from funny to genius, and the voice acting is stellar. The best of which is Richard Kind as the embodiment of the imaginary friend. Bing bong. I need a minute. Sorry. Known for playing curmudgeonly characters, here his energetic and playful delivery is spot on with what a child would want a friend to be like. Even if you don't have kids, don't miss this one, and keep the tissues nearby.